Hey, Bill, can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Will you be sharing your screen?
I sure can.
I don't know if it's going to be necessary or not, but
I don't know either. I'll get it ready in case we want to do that.
okay. We'll start in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
This great house up here. So this is the only piece. Yeah, right on Texas. There's this. Basically, they are on their side yards back to here, which is the setback from Highway 27. They're just leaving the house, and that's why I wanted to know if it's kind of here. Great box, do they need to come to the maybe it's just not just a piece of no, it never was part of Gray Box. Right. That was my question. I thought if this was part of Gray Box, we shouldn't even be looking at this. That's why when you look at who's pushing this forward, some of the LLC. Yeah, Green, somebody, Green River.
Well, is it the owner's LLC? He just set it up.
Probably.
Yeah. That is one long ass driveway.
Yeah.
What is that? A quarter mile? It's gonna be plowed.
Yeah, I saw. If you go out there, this is already staked out.
Yeah, so was the other one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so I mean, basically, you got
This
this,
one was staked out.
you got this little sliver of property here that's frankly buildable.
Yeah. Right.
The rest
That's
of
it.
The rest is wetland.
All that's it.
you couldn't get a house here.
No.
And why would you want one here?
Well, and plus you got that 100 yards,
Yeah.
foot setback to the road here.
Yeah.
And then this, so you basically have that little triangle to fit it in. But it's amazing that they actually fit something in here. They're up against it, they're up against it.
And that's fine.
Yeah, as long as you have a good surveyor to stake the house, say you're within the boundaries.
Okay, I wasn't the only one going, huh?
Yeah, no, that's why I go by. But then when I saw he was proposing it, I thought, oh, that's a great house.
Yeah.
Bill found me.
A lot of people that go through this must be complaining afterwards.
Hey, you made it. Hey. Right, down from downtown. Oh, good. Tired, and my life has changed a little bit. I have a job.
You do? Is that a good thing or a
In my
bad thing?
retirement. I may have bit off more next year. We'll see. Oh, she's fine with it because it keeps me out of her hair.
Okay. Please,
So did
please,
Bill.
please.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
The company that I've worked with the CEO for. So you decided when you came out of what you're doing, when you sold your house.
On another one, we have contracts on both.
So fortunately, the government changed the rules. I wouldn't be able to.
Council was gonna take a look.
We're gonna try and turn around this.
The one I'm gonna build is being credited. That's 2 years.
Yeah, is it sold to different than what it was?
Yeah. They don't have.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, I talked to Chris and talked to. Yeah.
It is, it is, and because they're in Chicago, and everyone works remotely.
You see the grass is. So they're doing.
I don't know, we'll see what happens. With campaigning, I mean, once a month. Right now. I got.
Be real.
We all turn our lights on and make sure you. computers are muted.
What do you think? Should we do this deal?
Okay, I'd like to call the special October 3rd Planning Commission meeting in order. Please could all rise to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for attending tonight. We have all the commissioners should have gotten a copy of tonight's agenda. We have one item on the agenda tonight, and that is a public hearing for the Fox Estate preliminary plat. Does anyone want to, any commissioner want to amend or add anything to tonight's agenda?
Nope.
Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Steve, seconded by Amy. All in favor of approving tonight's agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion to approve tonight's agenda is carried. We'll move right into the public hearing. All commissioners should have received the following before the meeting: the Fox Estate preliminary plat and final plat, and as well as a staff memo prepared by City Planner Cindy Nash dated September 27th. Before I open a public hearing for resident comments, I'd like to have City Planner Nash summarize the application and provide a recommendation to the commission. And then we'll have the applicant. Is the applicant here tonight? Oh, okay, so he is here. So we'll have him speak if he'd like to before we open up the public hearing for comments. So Cindy, you want to take us through what's being proposed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is a one lot plat. It's an existing parcel of record in terms of that it has a separate PID number. It's on the west side of Texas Avenue and the south side of Broadview Drive. What the site is a little bit challenging because there is a very large wetland right in the middle of the site as shown on the screen here. But they do have enough land to have a primary and an alternate septic site along with room for a proposed house that meets the setbacks and the driveway and everything else that they would need for that to be a lot. As part of the plat, they would also be dedicating right away along Broadview Drive in this location and along County Highway number 27 here. Scott County Septic has reviewed and approved the septic locations, and Scott County engineering has also approved the right-of-way dedication amount. With that, we're recommending approval of the preliminary plat, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, thanks. And the applicant's in that room. Do you have any questions before I go get him?
Cindy, one question for me is this lot bound by the covenants of Gray Fox Estates?
I do not know, because I've not seen the HOA documents for Gray Fox Estates, but I would anticipate that it would be unlikely to be bound by the covenants of Gray Fox Estates, given it wasn't part of their original plat, and that would be the more typical way that something would have been included within those covenants.
Okay.
Cindy, has the city engineer weighed in on it yet?
I'm sorry, has what?
The city engineer weighed in on this yet?
Yes, he has approved it as well.
Any other questions? Okay, well now, Mr. Cook, would you like to make any comments before we open up the public hearing? Great. We may have you come up later then during the public hearing. Cindy, do we have any written comments from any resident?
I have not received any.
Okay, so I'd like to now open up the public hearing. This is the time for residents to provide comments pertaining to the Fox Estate preliminary plat. Is there any resident here tonight that would like to make any comments or statements related to this?
Just a question.
Great. If I could have you go up to the podium, state your name and your address.
Mike Van Erdwick, 6745 Broadview Drive. We're the property right next to here in. I just sent or emailed before, but it meets all setback requirements, but what those are in feet, and I don't know what they are, like especially those septics are really close to our property line. So what is the feet you know, if a septic system fails, where it's, you know, it's 10, 15 feet or whatever, what it is from our. It's just a question.
Okay.
Yep,
And then the roadway too.
Cindy, are you able to answer that?
sure. The setbacks are shown on the survey as being 30 feet away from the property line, and that is meeting ordinance requirements. As I said, Scott County Septic has also looked and approved of the septic sites. And I'm not sure what the question was about the roadway.
Well,
Is that also 30 feet?
So the house has to be set back 100 feet from the new dedicated line, which is right here of County Highway number 27. And then you can see the 100-foot measurement here. This line here is showing what that setback is. So, you know, if you move the house in a different location where it would have to be.
I think he's talking about the side yard setback to the west.
Driveway.
So the driveway and the two septic sites, on the septic site to the north, you have a 30-foot setback for the house. The alternate site clearly infringes on that 30 feet. So his question was, what is the side yard setback to a septic site and to the driveway from the property line to the west?
We're keeping those out of the drainage and utility easements.
Okay, and is that 10 feet?
That's 10 feet.
Okay.
So that septic in that driveway could go 10 feet up to the property.
Within 10 feet of your property line, yes.
Is that a?
Yeah. Cindy won't be able to hear your questions or responses.
I apologize. So 10 feet from the property line, is that a special easement or is that standard?
That's a standard drainage and utility easement.
Okay, and so the same for the driveway?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So all plats have standard easements around the perimeter of a property. And then in cases where there is some drainage feature or a swale or a drainage pipe, or in this case, a wetland, as you can see here, there may be additional drainage and utility easements over those drainage features.
So another question that I have is, if you guys are familiar with this property, there's a pretty big sized berm along the property. And then there's kind of like a gap in the middle, if you're familiar with that. And there's a lot of drainage, water off goes through that gap in the middle down, be, you know, right around here, right? I think there's a gap or something that comes right in here. So there's a lot of drainage, a lot of water down there. And so I'm not sure what the builder has plans to stop that, like if that drainage is going to continue, because it would go right across, and how they would deal with that. Because then there would be maybe some excavation work or something on our property to have that water drain a different way. Like, so I would like to have that addressed.
So Cindy, the property owner to the west addressing what will be his future or their future neighbor. If there's a natural drainage off of the side yard of the property to the west across where the driveway is going, what's the ruling on that? Will they need to put a culvert under to make sure they do not impede from that water transferring across this new lot to the wetland? Or how will they grade that so we don't end up with a water pond alongside of their driveway if its natural flow is to the wetland from the property owner to the west?
So that is something that's typically reviewed by the city engineer, who has reviewed the certificate of survey for the building permit and approved that as well already. So that
There was a topo done for this property so that we know the elevations.
like I said, the city engineer reviewed all of that already. So I can check in with him after the meeting and ask him to verify that, but.
There is a substantial elevation difference. I mean, if you guys been by that property, it slopes quite a bit
Sure.
that way. And that's why that wetland is there, is because all that drainage going into it.
They couldn't change your lot though. That was your question too. They could go and come in and excavate your land.
Right, they can't do that.
They can't do that.
But if they somehow,
They can't mess up your lot. is my
Yeah.
understanding. Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Hi, Mike. Nice to meet you. I was gonna come over and see you here shortly.
Jim, will you just announce who you are and,
Jim Cook with Green Mavericks, we're
Great.
building the lot,
Okay.
building the house proposed on that lot. We're responsible for water drainage on our lot, can't affect your lot at all.
Okay.
So our engineer worked with the city engineer and they worked through all the elevations. There is another map that'll show all the elevations of the driveway and everything. So our responsibility is to make sure all the water is controlled on our lot. So they've done that, and that's part of the engineering, the civil engineering's responsibility. So not only did he do the layout, the setbacks and everything, he did all the elevations for grading. So we know there's not gonna, because we don't want anything puddling up.
Yeah, it's been a couple of really dry years here.
Yeah.
You know, we lived here 19 years and wet years, you should see it.
Yeah, I've heard from the owner. So it's been dry lately. It is something I just wanted you to know that we've been in the forefront and it was taken into consideration. And that was part of the engineering approval process. They wouldn't have approved it if it didn't drain the way it's supposed to the wetland. Okay, you bet, thanks.
Is that good? Any other residents would like to speak tonight related to this application? Sure. If you could state your name and address, that'd be great.
Yes, my name is Paul, not the actor. And I live, my driveway goes right along the southern edge of this property.
What's your address, sir?
20,006 Texas Avenue. Thank you. Triple zeros. I guess I have a kind of a concern that I want to make sure that you as planning commission or the city has ways that if there is a problem where the builder's going to be building something and he's going to be gone. He's going to sell the house to somebody else. And so I just want to make sure that my driveway is 3/4 mile long, and I've had to deal with some of the residents in Gray Fox and estates, and some of them have been wonderful. They always ask if they the back of their property, but there have been some that haven't done that, and I'm concerned that somebody in the building that you might be using my driveway to go into your property. Okay, that's okay. That because it makes a mess. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because it does make a difference. You get a big truck coming through there, then I have to move. That's my front yard. That's their backyard. And so,
You'll see the construction.
okay.
Nobody will be coming out.
Okay, then I have a concern as well of the size of the house. Now, most of the houses in Gray Fox are very close to Broadview. This is much closer to my driveway and to Jerry Swinghammer's driveway, who is across 27 from there. He owns part of my where I enter. And I'm a little concerned too with the septic system. I think the septic system is probably far enough back towards where his house is going to be, but I am concerned about the roadway when that turns into a four-way or four-lane road, which I know is going to happen. I just have a concern with where the septic system is, and boy, you really squeeze it. And I know it's a tough lot to do, but I think that we have to, as the people that are responsible for making sure that developers do what they say they're going to do. And so, I don't want anything bigger than what's there right now. And I want to make sure that the septic system doesn't affect my driveway in any way.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other residents like to speak tonight? Sure.
All right, Steve DeGroot, 19061 Margaret Lane. I'm also in Gray Fox Estates. I just got a couple comments. I'm a little concerned about kind of the piggybacking of the development's name on our name. They're not the same. And it seems kind of a little bit of a gimmick in my mind of that. We've been paying for the lights. We've been paying to mow that along that lot, along Broadview for 20 years. And now somebody showed up and they're going to kind of jump on like kind of half brother kind of thing. I don't like that, but I'm not sure you guys can do anything about that. It is what it is, but I'll tell you how I feel. The other issue is, have you considered what the real back of the lot is? I mean, this originally was part of the Otting farm. It was bifurcated by County Road 27. The address of the entire thing was County Road 27. The back of the lot would have been on the west side. And now, just because we're switching around and making the driveway onto Broadway, which I'm not sure that we just paved that. I'm not sure if this lot was ever paid any of that cost. I know the rest is paid. And at that point in time, it wasn't part of Broadview or anything like that. So now it is, or it's going to be. And I would say the west side, even looking at the house, it's kind of tucked in there toward the southwest. I mean, the whole idea of having that 60-foot dimension on the back of your lot is to take and have, so this doesn't happen right here. What's happening, which is snuggling right up against their lot and building a house 30 feet away, which is not what was, I wouldn't have thought what they would have, when they built their house, what they would have thought. So I would ask you guys to look at the back of the lot versus the side of the lot. Should it be 30 or 60 foot for the setback? Thank you.
Thank you. Cindy, do you have any comments on the setback question?
We can't change the setbacks from what's required in the zoning ordinance.
It's 30 feet on the sides and 60 foot on the
When you
back.
say sides, sir, what do you, sides meaning?
Yeah. When you-
The side is, Broadview is the front, and Texas is a corner side, but then the west property line is a side setback.
But originally, Cindy, the west side would have been back.
You may want to speak at the microphone so she can hear you.
Did you hear me, Cindy?
I couldn't hear you, sorry.
Oh, originally, the back of the lot would have been the west side.
When you say originally, though, there's no house there.
No, the way it was, the original address of that lot as it was, and it's been sold now a couple times. So the original lot, the Otting lot, that was split. The address of that lot is on County Road 27.
Mhm.
So the back of the lot would have been the west side.
I actually just addressed the lot, and it didn't have an address before.
It was part, before it was split up and sold, it was part of this existing house right here, sorry, that you're showing on the plan, existing house on the right side. I mean,
Yep.
everyone knows that, so that's been around here for more than a few years.
But what I'm saying is this parcel ID, which it's a separate parcel ID, it was not addressed. It didn't have an address.
So we hear you, but there was no address. So
Okay.
it's a moot point, I think. I mean, and in regards to you had a concern about the name,
I know you can't do anything about that. It just-
right? I mean, you could talk to your homeowners association attorney and see if they can comment on that, but although we can't do anything about the name either.
All right.
No, so, okay, thank you. Okay, if you could, okay,
In the newspaper article, it said there was a variance. I mean, this is a public hearing for preliminary plat and variance. What is the variance that we've been notified of here?
There isn't a variance. Yep, thank you. I should have mentioned that earlier. I originally thought there would be a variance, but they ended up being able to design and not ask for a variance, so there is not one.
Yes, thank you.
The ad already had gone out.
we have a follow-up question.
Just one follow-up question is, on the monument for Gray Fox, and if I can just point this out. Right here. And this actually comes over into past the property line. And so part of the Gray Fox monument actually comes into the new property line. And so it's just something to be considered about, like what's going to happen to that monument. Is part of that going to be blocked or redone or something? Because it is, I don't even mow over there because it's into the next property line. So the way that was developed probably could have been done different, but pointing that out too.
So Cindy, if there's a monument already on that lot, partially, does Gray Fox have to move the monument, or does it stay there, or what?
Well, yeah, it's interesting because the monument was actually placed on property that was not owned by anybody in Gray Fox. It was
Right.
placed in this location. So this darker black line is the original property lines of this parcel. And now the monument will not be on that parcel anymore. It'll actually be in the right of way. So that would be up to the city whether they would want to have any changes made. But now that area where the monument is, you can see it right here, that feature that I'm pointing to. So that's actually it'll be in the right of way. It will not be on the lot that's within this plat because we're having him dedicate right away for Broadview Avenue and for County Road 27.
So the property owner won't be able to take down that monument?
No,
Is that where the monument is? I thought it was on the west side.
Yeah, I thought it was on the other side. So it's Cindy, it's on the other side.
It's on the west property line.
West.
No, go left. Yeah, right.
then I guess I'm not sure where it is because it's not showing up on these plans.
So my
It's-
question.
It's interior to the development.
Go ahead, Leroy.
Sure. Steve, the two Cindy pointed out are drainage concrete slab areas.
Oh,
Thank you. So if a monument, Cindy, is in this property, that just means that Gray Fox put their monument in somebody else's property.
If that's the case, yeah.
And that'll have to be worked out between the new lot owner and Gray Fox.
Right. If that's the case, we'll see that when we look at the title commitment. Because
And that typically is addressed then at that time.
well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's not uncommon that there's encumbrances on properties, so.
Yeah, I think Cindy, if there's any questions that have regarding that monument, it's just down the road. If they decide to tear it down and redo it in the same position, the same placement, that this doesn't become a dispute between the new property owner on the proposed lot and the property owner to the west. And so as long as that's resolved in some form or fashion so that we don't have anything legally hanging over or that's the questions that aren't answered in the future, I think that'd be wise. Yes, please.
Sure. And then Amy has
Just looking at
something.
the plat, number one, we have no intention moving the monument to move. It's actually got rock, tree. We were just looking here and it's really just part of that rock retaining wall structure that so it isn't really the whole monument at all. It would just be the part of the rock, but
So that would be something that would be worked out between
yeah, we
Gray
could work-
Fox
we could
and
work-
you
some
or
kind
the
of guarantee that we wouldn't request that.
right.
To be.
Perhaps the surveyor can develop an easement description and an easement could be granted to the HOA.
That's great
Area.
idea. Yep, great idea.
Okay, good. Amy, you had something to say?
Cindy, is it common to have monuments or other fixed structures in the right of way? And does that pose any sort of concern for what the easement is intended to do?
If it's something we were doing today, we wouldn't, allow somebody to construct something new like that in the right of way. But it's obviously an existing condition, so.
Any other resident like to make a comment tonight related to this application? Hearing none. Can I get a motion to close tonight's public hearing?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I got a motion by Mark. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Abe. All in favor of closing tonight's public hearing, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Any other questions that the commission has? No? I'm good with this. It seemed, I think we've addressed the concerns, and there's some things that have to be worked out between the property owner and Gray Fox, but I think everything looks okay. There's no variance that we have to worry about. And actually, I didn't even see the newspaper. I didn't see it in the memo, so I wasn't even aware of that. So
Are we looking for, Cindy, are we looking for a motion that includes your 8 points in the recommendation?
Yes, and then I would also add that if the monument is on the lot at all, that an easement should be provided to the Gray Fox Homeowners Association.
So that would be number 9 then.
That would be number 9.
okay. Can I get a motion to approve the as one before I ask for that? Cindy, we have a final plat too. Are we doing those separately?
You
Or-
actually don't have the final plat, just it's in there in your packet, for example, but we don't have the Planning Commission Act on the final plats.
Okay, so we're only talking about the preliminary plat. Okay, can I get a
Yep.
motion to approve, to recommend to the city council to approve the Fox Estate preliminary plat for the reasons outlined in the staff memo and our discussion tonight, with the addition of adding and all the recommendations and conditions in the memo, as well as adding number 9, an easement should be provided to Gray Fox HOA. Can I get a motion to recommend to the city council all those things I just said?
Whatever Bill said. No, actually, I'll make a motion to approve this based upon the conversation tonight and the fact that the builder is going to work with the association to resolve any issues that are remaining out there. I make a motion to approve this plat.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Aim. All in favor of approving this preliminary plat based on the conversation we just had, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Sorry that was more complicated than I thought, but we got out of here with 2 minutes to spare. Thank you, everyone. Oh, I need to adjourn the meeting. Can I get a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting? Planning Commission meeting. Motion by Amy. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mark. All in favor of adjourning tonight's meeting, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, everyone.
Gap here, and then we'll get started with the council meetings.
Those who are to share the flag from experience. It starts about. Walk out the door, please.
If anybody's watching on YouTube, I'm gonna stop this recording. I'm gonna move it over to the council meeting, so we have a separate record. So stand by when we start a new live.